everybody. I have spent the last several days doing paperwork and taxes and trying to find information on receipts from many years ago that I needed for a warranty on a product that I have. Dealing with all kinds of things, information I needed for, say, student loans from many years ago. Soul-sucking junk that I hate doing. I'm not a paperwork person. I'm not really a woman of the world. I'm really just a little old lady who likes to can her food and make homemade bread and loves to paint. And I'd like to cocoon myself into a little safety net somewhere where I wouldn't have to deal with these things. But unfortunately, that's the real world. Yes, it's true. I've done many things in my lifetime. I've run cleaning businesses for many years so that I could be home for my children at the end of the day. I've worked as secretaries. I've done retail. I have a hairdressing license I've had since I was 17 years old and did hair for many years, owned a couple of hair salons. At some point, I just decided I wanted to go into nursing and became a nurse and worked in nursing for many years. All kinds of nursing, from peds to hospice to trach and vent to geriatric. Went back to retail for a while and then retired. Hopefully I stay retired, except for my art business. So, yes, when I say I'm just a little old lady with a simple life, I have had a lot of complicated parts to my life, but I want it to be something very simple now. I'm really just a country girl inside the city that just wants peace in my life. And I hope that's what you're looking for too when you want to paint and when you watch my videos. That's what I'm trying to impart to you. First of all, peace and joy and just a little bit of control over your life. That yes, you can control your pencil or your brush and you can make things, and they're things that are pleasing to you. So on top of that, I've been struggling with the painting that I haven't shown you yet and may not. Pushing myself out of my comfort zone, doing something that is very difficult for me to do, which is portraiture. And I continue to work at it and always will, because it makes my landscapes better. Same as still life. Still life makes my portraiture better, makes my landscapes better. My landscapes make my portraiture better. So if you combine a little of everything, you can help yourself to increase your knowledge and your expertise and your hand-eye coordination, everything. As I've said before, if you learn how to make an apple look round, you have now learned how to make the nose look round. You've learned how to make the cheek look round. So you're teaching yourself concepts that you'll need for every kind of painting. Where does the highlight go? Where does the shadow get thrown on something as simple as drawing a ball? I remember years ago when I first started trying to paint, I couldn't figure out why my ball just looked like a flat, round cylinder on a page. And when I figured out what you had to do to make something look round, I was so amazed and excited that I could make my paper look three-dimensional. It's astounding to me, and still is, that all I'm painting is shapes, and somehow those shapes look like things. And some of those things look three-dimensional. And that's all we can do with paper, pencil, paint, chalk. So let's see if we can paint a painting that is more in my wheelhouse, which is landscape, and maybe get a little joy back into my day and put my soul back inside my body where it belongs. Okay? Hope y'all enjoy. So I always ask, what inspires you? One of the things that inspires me is good memories and beautiful landscape special, precious times, like when I went on this trip to North Carolina with my daughter. We had a wonderful week of just the two of us, which is very, very rare for us. I think it's unheard of, actually. And this is just a common road we were driving down in North Carolina by Franklin, but all of the roads there are beautiful. There's the picture in my video number 1.
Most horrific, terrifying thing of my life. Forced me to do it. We are driving to get up to the Appalachian in our car. It's not the Appalachian Trail, it's the Pickens Nose. Pickens Nose portion of the Appalachian Trail. It is part of the Appalachian. It's a stop, yeah. And it's like 7 miles up this horrific thing. We probably shouldn't have done it, but we were stupid enough to do it. We're going to say we did this.
That was a crazy excursion up there. I ended up twisting my ankle before it was all done. But look at, you can't even see how deep or steep this is. It doesn't look like it in the photo. But there we are, we made it to the top. I actually painted a painting while sitting up there. And then later I did a little painting of my daughter sitting up there doing her yoga and meditating. I did a bunch of paintings from this trip. Some of them were there, plein air, and some of them were when I got back home again. So it was a wonderful time. Anyway, back to our painting. What I liked about this painting is the way the tree layers. You've got these very faint ones in the back here, and then medium color, and then darker up front. I like this edge that lightens right here. I love the way the road takes you down the road and this way. What I don't like is that there's houses and cars down here. It's not something I wanted to focus on. I don't mind the telephone wire. I think that's kind of cool. I also don't like this street here having all these lines on it, even though I have painted that before, but I didn't want it on this one. So something I did here was crop the photo just a little bit. Then over here, I took out the house and car. I'm still making that my focal point. I want to put a little light right here so it shows you that the road does go that way. I also added a little bit of warmth up here coming through the trees. Now, of course, you can't do this very well with just a digital program, but it's just reminding me that I want some warmth coming through these trees because the sun is shining this way. I still have that road in there that's bothering me. So I took that out, and now I have the shadows coming from the trees. I have this light coming through here that's leading me this way. This street is leading me this way, and everything leads me to my focal point. The trees are coming down. Everything is pointing this way. Look this way. And I've made that little lighter in there and kept the warmth up here, but still have some darker leaves to show that these are overlapping everything else. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and paint this scene. So first I'm gonna have a sandwich with my own homemade sourdough bread that I made with my sourdough starter. I like to make bread at home. It's a hobby of mine. My little bread box I just got to keep it in. It's nice and fresh. This is a really good recipe, this last one that I came up with, and it's half whole wheat. I like to do things like that. I like to sprout at home, so I've got lots of little vegetable sprouts and herb sprouts, and they're organic and healthy. I like to can my own food, which you can never have too much of. Jams and jellies and sauces and mix for chicken pot pies, which my son just loves. Glazes to put over food that you make, like, for instance, salmon or chicken. And I even make my own kombucha. So these are the things that I do at home when I'm not painting, and playing with my birds, of course. What do you do to make your life happy? Let's get back to another love of mine, painting. So I'm drawing a horizon line and deciding where my center of interest is. Make a little circle there, Circle above it to show I want to leave that lighter as well. And then draw all of my perspective lines. Correct them where need be. This is where I want to have all my bushes and my leaves and my branches from my tree coming down and aiming toward my center of interest. I'm going to go ahead and put my lightest light in because that is going to be my focal point, and I want to know how light is that going to be. People have a hard time with green. There's so many different shades of green. As your greens go back, they need to be lighter and bluer and cooler and warmer with more red or burnt sienna mixed in as they come forward. Here's my shadow, which is just made with blue and white and a tiny little bit of magenta. Then later in my areas where it's going to show the sunshine for the dappled light, I add a little yellow to that. This is acrylic, so I'm just putting in some very dark green to show where the darkest leaves are going to be. Then I want to fill in my sky color. Then I'll come back in and hit it with a few more leaves. Get a basic concept of the entire painting going here. Everything's done with a big brush. Nothing's done with perfection. I will go back in and redraw the entire painting. I could go over it with oil if I want to. So I haven't decided yet if I'm going to finish this with oil or with acrylic. But now when I look at it, I see exactly what it is I'm trying to achieve. And from here, it's all just perfecting the painting. Where do I want my lights? On the left-hand side where the bushes have a highlight on them, I decided to be careful not to get those too light because I don't want them to compete with my center of interest in the middle there, but I want them to point you toward that. Even though there's highlight on the trees in the background there, I don't want them as light as the lights up front. So it's a constant reassessing of your colors and your hues, well, your hues and colors and your depth of color. How dark and how light do you want it? So you can see now a little straighter as I have taken a photo of where we're at so far. And I think we have a concept going here. There are many things that need to be adjusted, including putting the second telephone pole in, but we're well on our way to developing our painting. So now all the little marks take a painting from amateur looking to more professional. Most people stop at this point and say, I don't know what else to do. But it's those extra little details that make it extra special. Going in and lightening the sky in areas, darkening some of the leaves, adding the sky holes that make the sun or the sky shine through the leaves. That orange in between the leaves is just going to be a glow, the edge of the leaves as the sun shines through them. So I have to put sky in there, and then I have to put more leaves around them. Can't make the sky too light in between the leaves or they just look like polka dots. You can describe a branch or a twig by painting either side of it and leaving the twig to show through, just like I'm doing here. Now you see that there's a twig there in front of the tree with the light shining behind it. I think it's a lot harder to figure out where the sky goes after you put the leaves in, but for some reason it makes a painting a lot more painterly. In other words, you could paint the whole sky in when you're painting with acrylic and then just paint your tree over it, because you don't have to worry like you would in oil that you're dragging your dark paint through white. But I still like to put it on afterward. And then I'll go ahead and put more leaves on top of the sky. So you go back and forth until you get things the shape that you want them to be. There's a street going through there. And there's also light shining under those little trees, or bushes I should call them. They're really a bunch of little bushes that have roots and a main branch. So they look like little trees. It's like a hedge, I guess. So you want to somehow cohesively show there's light spots and dark spots in these bushes and trees back there. As you go back, of course, they are not as bright. They are not as yellow. They're more greenish and then bluish, because we can't see as much yellow far back. The only yellow I'm having really strongly is at the end of the street where the sun is just beaming down. And even that I'm going to tone down a little. The horizon is always a little lighter than the sky high up, which is called the zenith. Accentuating the focal point, which is the end of the road, where the sky meets the road. So I darken this road to help you lead your eye out there. I get it a little too dark, I go back in and lighten it a little. Back and forth until you get it just right. The shadows are all different colors. Some are darker than others. Hi, Judah.
Hey,
Happy birthday.
thanks.
How are you?
You good?
How's your birthday going? Sending me a FaceTime. That's Judah's birthday today. That's my grandson, my fourth grandson. He's 12 years old today. Well, we're getting close to the end of the painting. Just a few last details to make it all polished. I'll show you a picture of where we're at now and then a couple more photos for the finish. So I've got a little grayscale here just to give my eye the opportunity to see if I have my lights and darks correct in my painting. I think I'm doing pretty well. If there's anything really major that I wanted to have in this painting, this is the photo of the original that had the house in it and the line in the street, which I could put in if I wanted, but I really don't think I want that line in the street. I don't know. It's a thought. I think I'll probably leave it out. But on the other hand, it does kind of remind me of what it was like driving down this road, not walking down the road. So I'll think about it. Anyway, I think we're doing pretty good. So what are we going to do? Lastly is make a little more of a fuzzy look here so that it looks like the sun is kind of shining through these, not just that we have some yellow leaves. And I think I have to bring up a little bit of a tree right in here. Just, you can't see it that well. I want to darken that just a tiny bit for a little more of a background tree. I like the way this looks. This is pretty good over here. That might be a little darker than it needs to be. These are good. And then I'll refresh the leaves on the tree, and I think we'll have it pretty much finished. Oh, of course I have to put the other telephone pole in and then run some wires going all the way from here to there. And then it will be done. Okay, we may be completely finished, but who knows, I might piddle with this a little more. Yes, I decided to put the line in. I could not help myself. There's the 2 telephone poles and the wire. Hopefully I have a glow coming through the trees because I put a little bit of the warmth behind there before I started putting the leaves in. I'm hoping you are going down this road and this line helps to get you there as well as the road itself. You hopefully will see that these trees back here are faded. They're more blue than they are green, which helps you to see that there's distance there. Up in the front here, even though you don't see it in the photo, we all know there's warmth up here, so you put it in. This is why people tell you you can't paint from photos, but you know better because you know the rules. There's warmth up front, there's cool in the back. So, a little memory for me to keep of my travels with my daughter. And let me tell you one last thing. This is that really cool fiberboard. But one thing is, when you paint with it, tape it down really strongly. I have it sitting with something behind it to stiffen it up, but I caught the edge here and it snaps very easily. So that is one thing I do not like about it, is it is not as strong as, of course, the hardboard that we use. It's very light. It's nice to be able to use it, kind of like paper, but you can't bend it like you can. It's not flexible like paper would be, so you have to be really careful with it or it will snap. And I didn't realize it was quite that fragile. I thought it had plastic in it and would be stronger. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I think you can see that as these trees come forward here, they're darker and they're overlapping the trees behind them. I enjoyed this very much, and it'll be a good memory for me when I put it in a frame and take a good look at it. Happy painting, everyone. See you next time. And remember, you can paint too.